and girls, ladies and gentlemen, let's start talking about Aimpunch. Now, let's kind of discuss what Aimpunch actually is. Then we're going to go into how it actually affects Dirty Bomb. So it's kind of a unique topic, I guess. It's something that not everyone's going to have a clear mind of, because it's not the biggest problem. Obviously, there's a lot of issues currently in Dirty Bomb, as it is only in beta still. But this is one I think is a core gameplay issue that I think does need to be kept in mind, and the updates need to be seen and kind of kept control of, right? Because I think it's going to be quite important going forward. So I'm going to pick a squad real quick. It's going to be a fairly long video, and I'm going to explain why I picked this squad and why I feel that it actually highlights a lot of what I feel Aimpunch does affect. So the squad I'm going for is Sawbones with the Krotzny, Proxy with the very kind of close range SMG, and then Fragger with the M4 style weapon. Now, if you don't know what Aimpunch is, basically the best way I can sum it up very briefly is it occurs when you are being shot at and you get hit, and therefore it causes your crosshair and your aim, your bullets, to kind of respond out of normal reach, right? So they'll either go to a higher level of bullet spread or recoil, and it's kind of how that affects it. Now, this is present in a hell of a lot of games. It's not just Dirty Bomb, it's in CS, it's in enemy territory, it's been in quite a few, 1.6, all of these things. So it's nothing new. But Aimpunch to me is super annoying, and I don't actually like the way it currently is in Dirty Bomb. Now, I like a lot of the factors of Dirty Bomb. This is not a negative video. I love Dirty Bomb. You guys should know that by now. What a great lobby I've joined. Thank you, Dirty Bomb. But basically, it's in Dirty Bomb, it causes bullet spread to a degree, or a randomization of bullet spread when you're being shot at. Now, the benefit of this is mostly due to the fact then you realize you're being hit. It gives an advantage to the person who makes the first shot. So, in theory, it doesn't sound like an awful thing, right? But then you have to think how it really affects the gameplay going forward. So, let's take it into stopwatch account, right? Attack and defense. Now, the reason I have such an issue with it in Dirty Bomb specifically is because of stopwatch. In games like Search and Destroy, it's not really a massive issue. It still has a lot of critics out there, but it's not the biggest problem. For me, the reason I don't like it in Dirty Bomb is because of the attack and defense kind of format, right? So when you're on attack, if it's played out to a decent degree, let's say in Dirty Bomb, right? So if you're playing out to a normal degree, so you're on the attacking side, the defending team will have the advantage of being able to set up crossfires. So basically, you'll be moving into the crossfire of a preset player and team, and you have the disadvantage first and foremostly, because they'll have the first shot because they'll be holding the angle. We'll see it live in this game, and I'm going to go with Sawbones. Actually, no, I'm going to go Fragger, because I feel that the M4 has quite a unique kind of spread pattern, and I think you can see it quite clearly. So I'm going to play a little bit so you guys can see it, and I'm going to just kind of talk about why I feel it's actually a very big issue in Dirty Bomb in comparison to other games, and how it's kind of been affected. So you can see already the defenders do get to these positions slightly earlier than us, which is fine. That's not exactly a big issue. But it's also the fact that you can take down snipers easier. That was one of the big factors that came in and was discussed, that actually it works quite well in that sort of aspect, that allows teams on the attack to kind of, put off someone holding an angle. But then you have to add in how this game works tracking-wise, right? So this is not like your CS. This is not your game where you... Ooh, that got a bit close. Where you are on one target, and the time to kill is quite short. So in CS, for example, players die fairly quickly, right? That's kind of how it works. But in Dirty Bomb, time to kill is quite long, so you have to track the player. Now, when you're being shot at while you're tracking, the issue is that your bullet spray goes everywhere, so you can't really adjust accordingly, and you can't track them. Skill-wise, it becomes a random factor, right? Which is a problem. See you later, nerd. So that's my biggest problem, is the fact that you can't control it, and it becomes a random factor in this. It's not that it's a skillful factor. If, for example, in Csgo, you see things like recoil coming in, or let's say the spray pattern. So if you keep shooting one angle, it goes up, right? But it's always in a specific pattern, so that can be learned, right? That can be learned and kept in check, right? As you can see. But when you add an Aimpunch, it goes freaking everywhere, right? Now, it has been adjusted in Dirty Bomb recently, it has been reduced to some degree, but it's still there and it's still a problem. So, the one issue being, for me, one, is the fact of tracking, so keep this in mind going forward. When you track a player, when you're aiming on them for an extended amount of time, your aim does not reflect where your bullets go anymore. And that's going to give the player the advantage of who had the angle first, so defenders will now have the advantage, which doesn't really help out when the spawn times aren't as harsh as they used to be. So that's what you just need to kind of keep in mind here. And I'm going to show you examples in comparison to other games. And how they get around it, because people go, well, this was also in enemy territory, what's the issue? Well, in enemy territory, it didn't actually affect the bullet spread as such, it affected the visuals, so your crosshair, for example, would go up like this while you were being shot at. That's fine, that shows that, okay, I need to be, watching the player rather than the crosshair, and you learn to adjust for it. But in Dirty Bomb, your bullets go just about fricking everywhere. Now, I'm going to go and complete this game. And then we're going to look at other games and how they respond to it, and how they deal with it. So we're going to look at 1.6, we're going to look at Csgo, and we're going to look at enemy territory. So that's pretty much this game done. That's a very brief introduction of what Aimpunch actually is. Now, you didn't see much of it there because we were trashing nerds. But the point being is that this really does affect it in quite a bad way if it doesn't work out well. So I'm going to leave this game, and I'm going to show you the examples of other games now where it affects it and how they get around it. So in CSGO, for example, it's a little bit different. And we're going to look at 1.6 first, because there's some really good videos. This will not be a monetized video because I'm using other people's content. So let's look at that first. And yeah, let's just open that one up. We're going to leave that game. And I'm going to show you some of the older examples as well that was in Dirty Bomb that were really quite prolifically a problem. For example, let's have a little quick look. So this was prior to, well, this was around the Phantom patch. This is when it started to become a bit of an issue. As you can see, the tracking becomes very random. Even though his crosshair was actually on the player, it becomes a problem in this. So you have to keep in mind that it does affect the one-on-ones, the kind of duels, the battles, that really it shouldn't do. I think if a player aims better, they should be rewarded accordingly. And I'm not really seeing that currently. Let me find the other example I really like that highlights it quite well. Now, this is the one that I think being on the attack will be affected the most by. And these GIFs have been found. This was on the Dirty Bomb subreddit some time ago. And as you can see, when you're in a crossfire, you have two angles of attack coming towards you. For example, in this, where you can see he's trying to shoot the player in front of him, being shot from the backside, and from another angle, he can't track perfectly at all. It completely randomizes it. Now, it has been reduced since then, but that's not the point. It still is a bit of a problem, and it's still an issue in this. So that's in Dirty Bomb. That's how it used to be. But let's look towards the likes of 1.6, because 1.6 does have Aimpunch in it, just not anywhere near as much. And as you can see, we can just have a quick watch of this, and you can see how it's affected. But then you think, okay, well how come it's okay in CS and your 1.6s and your CSGOs, right? Well, in CS, attack and defenders do need real differences, right? They do need real differences. The defending side has utility as well, and it doesn't have regenerative health, it doesn't have rolling respawns, because you have one life in CS per round, right? You don't respawn at any point. In Dirty Bomb, you'll be respawning all the time, so these engagements and these kind of issues are completely fine in games like this where you have one round where you want it to be the most even balanced thing of, okay, well, this guy held the angle first, he was on the defending side, they should have the advantage. Attackers can go by surprise, they can utilize flashes, smokes, nades, and it's fine. That's how it kind of works, right? So at this sort of level, you can see even now in comparison, I think this is one of the best examples that I saw, is how little there is aim punch wise that affects the actual bullet spread. And this was still quite massive for 1.6. People were still massively against it, but you can see on the wall there, it's still quite small, right, in comparison to Dirty Bomb, where it's like everywhere. Now, I'm going to go to enemy territory next, because I think enemy territory is the game that I'd say has the best example of how to deal with aim punch and why it works well in enemy territory. Now, I've just found a random VOD. This is quite a old example, and it's just a VOD basically. I've just found a VOD of ET. I think it was a Merlinator's video actually, and you can just see here it's on Supply Depot, and I think you'll see it quite well. So in enemy territory, it doesn't matter, even though you're being shot and your aim will go up. As you can see how high that that went then. The actual bullets don't change, so if you're aiming in the correct place, it will still hit the same shots. However, visually, it's showing you are being shot at, you are being damaged, and it has every benefit surrounding it. So that's why I think ET has the best version possible, and especially considering the game type is exactly the same. So, a couple of other questions you are going through. I'm currently doing this live. Obviously, you guys are watching this on YouTube. I am streaming this right now. Is you're not rewarded with better aim is one of the things. Like, is better aim being rewarded? Is the first shot the imperative part here? I don't think it is in Dirty Bomb. I don't think having the first shot is the important factor. I think how you control it and how you deal with it going forward in this hit scan style gameplay is actually more beneficial. It's more of a key factor, and I think it should be rewarded more than just having the first shot, because time to kill in games like CS is extraordinarily short, so having that first shot is the skillful factor, whereas in games like Dirty Bomb, it's more how you recover, how you track, how you move accordingly. So I think looking at this, you can see the difference quite easily and how it kind of works. And it does have the skill aspect to it, because even if you're being hit, visually you can't quite see as clearly, and yet you can still adjust accordingly. And we are watching Team UK, I think, against, is it Germany? Yeah, it's the German team. So Supply Depot was always quite an interesting one, because the defending side has the vertical advantage throughout most of the, at least early stage. But you can see that the attacking side will have to utilize the spawn times to try and pressure the defenders more than anything. And that's where you'll find the balance. I think that another core issue is that the actual spawn times don't work particularly as well as they should. I think in ET you are able to exploit and abuse people more and surround your tactics around it. So for example, if you see an engineer's being gibbed, what time did he just get gibbed on? Okay, if we give the 2 engineers here, it'll be a worthwhile exchange. But with 15 seconds now on that, you can see the Panzer being used just to give him out, because they know there's going to be a long enough spawn time they will not be able to get back down to that lower floor to defuse the dynamite. So you can see that actually spawn times define a lot, not just who has the first shot. I think with other game modes, like your Search and Destroys, where it's a 1 life round, it's completely fine to have the first shot being rewarded drastically. But in a game like Stopwatch, it's how you adjust, how you respond, and how you go forward. And it's really depressing to see Team UK being absolutely trounced by the Germans. But yeah, so I thought I'd do a quick video on it and just kind of highlight what I feel is an actual problem. And you can see it in Csgo if I whack this video on as well. And this is a real problem in CS, but it's also kind of highlighting the monetary system in CS, that if you can't afford your armor, your head armor as well, of course you will be at a disadvantage. So you see that factor coming in, whereas in Dirty Bomb, there is no monetary factor to it. There is no money system. There is no negative or benefit. It's just there. You can't get around it. It's just, you know, sometimes if you're on the attack or on the defense, you kind of get screwed over by it. So as you can see, the negative is probably the biggest example. You can see the difference in how the bullets actually respond. So the one thing I would say is, I've kind of highlighted what Aimpunch is, how it affects Dirty Bomb, and the comparison to other games, but the one thing I would say is how to fix it. Now personally, I want it to be like enemy territory. I want it to be a purely visual thing and it not affect the bullets. I think you can get away with it in games like CS because it's supplemented by the fact that, oh, this guy didn't have enough to buy head armor, he should be at a disadvantage, they should be on an eco, and the guy with the armor should be benefited by having the advantage of giving the aim punch to the other side, right? I think that's how it kind of should be rewarded. But in Dirty Bomb, I don't think it needs it. I don't think there's any need for a reward system to that degree. I think that it should be pretty much standardized, and even you can see the difference with head armor there. It's fantastic. You can see there's barely any recoil changes to when you're being hit with head armor. I personally would like to see it very similar to enemy territory, where it's a visual effect, so the crosshair will be affected, but your actual aim won't be. The bullets will not be, and I think that would be the better way of doing things personally. But anyway, that's as simple as it is. I think that kind of sums up my thoughts about it. I don't want to go on about it too long because I am streaming this and people want to kill themselves soon enough. But I think that kind of highlights it. If you guys have any thoughts or feedback on how you feel about Aimpunch yourself, do leave it in the comments down below. And that's that. I'm going to get back to streaming because, you know, that's what people are here for. But this shit, not cool. Not cool. Nope. This shit, let's watch this GIF. Not cool. Not cool. See what I mean? So anyway,